I never thought bringing my favorite lunch to work would nearly cost me my job, but in the end, the person who had to pay the price wasn't me. It all started with a stolen container of noodles. Realistically, I know I'm in the clear. Legally, I'm in the clear, but for a while, I was being vilified by my coworkers, and I genuinely considered quitting my job because of the whole mess. You see, I have a pretty standard day job, but at night I help my friend, Maya, at her restaurant, which serves a variety of delicious Thai cuisine. Now, I'll be the first to admit I'm an insanely picky eater, but I fell completely in love with this one peanut sauce the main chef makes. It's creamy, rich, and has this perfect balance of sweet and savory. He even showed me how to make it myself. So, about once a week, I'll prepare a big batch and bring it to my day job for lunch, usually on noodles or a stir fry. It's become my little tradition, a taste of comfort in the middle of a workday. It's not subtle, either. It smells nutty. It tastes nutty. It's basically white girl pad thai. Many of my coworkers know about it, and a few have even tried it and loved it. That's why it was so frustrating when, lately, my lunches started disappearing from the office fridge. Sometimes I'd open my lunchbox to find half of my carefully prepared meal just gone. I tried to address it, mentioning it in team meetings and even speaking to my boss, Mr. Harrison, but nothing ever changed. He just brushed it off as an HR issue, and when I went to HR, they'd say they'd look into it. And then, nothing. I was pretty sure it was one of the new hires, but I had no proof. The frustration peaked last Thursday. I went to the break room for my late lunch, and my entire Tupperware container of noodles was just gone. Not half-eaten, but completely missing. I was furious, but what could I do? A kind coworker saw my frustration and shared her pizza with me, and I tried to put it out of my mind. The next day, everything exploded. Mr. Harrison called me into his office. His face was grim, his knuckles white as he gripped his desk. He didn't waste any time. He accused me of poisoning my noodles because his daughter, Jessica, one of the new hires, had borrowed my lunch and ended up in the hospital. The word borrowed hung in the air, thick with absurdity. As one person later commented online, how exactly was she planning on returning food she'd already ingested? It wasn't borrowing, it was theft, plain and simple. It turns out Jessica has a severe nut allergy. She stole my lunch, ate my very nutty peanut sauce noodles, and went into anaphylactic shock. She had to use an EpiPen and was hospitalized. And now, her father, my boss, was standing in front of me, trying to hold me accountable for her medical bills and her condition. I was stunned, but I held my ground. Why should I pay? I don't label my personal food with allergen warnings because I'm not allergic to it. She was the one who was foolish enough to steal from me and eat something without knowing what was in it. This is where Mr. Harrison's greatest flaw was revealed, his inability to see past his parental bias. Rather than address his daughter's repeated theft, he chose to attack the victim, a desperate attempt to shift blame that would ultimately expose the toxicity of his management style. I told him I wouldn't pay a dime and that if his harassment continued, I'd report it directly to HR. This only made him more hateful. The fallout was immediate. Some of my older coworkers, the ones I can only describe as brown-nosers, started icing me out completely. Whispers would stop when I entered a room. The friendly chatter in our group meeting that morning vanished, replaced by a cold, tense silence whenever I spoke. For a moment, a wave of guilt washed over me. I could have killed her. But then, a moment of clarity, spurred on by the logic of strangers online, cut through the noise. No, I couldn't have killed her. As one person so rightly put it, she could have killed herself. Anyone with a life-threatening allergy knows you don't eat food when you don't know the ingredients. It can be hidden in anything, sauces, dressings, you name it. You have to be vigilant. Jessica chose to steal and eat a stranger's lunch. That was her choice, and the consequences were hers to bear, not mine. Feeling overwhelmed but resolute, I did two things. First, I called my friend Maya, who knew about the lunch thief. She was furious on my behalf and immediately offered me a full-time job at her restaurant. Second, I drafted a detailed email to our HR representative, who had been on vacation. I framed it exactly as another commenter suggested: an employee, who is a close relation to a manager, stole my personal property. Because of this, I was now facing bullying and reprisal from that manager and a hostile work environment from my coworkers. I documented everything, the history of theft, my previous ignored complaints, and Mr. Harrison's accusatory and threatening behavior. I wasn't just complaining, I was creating a paper trail. By the end of my shift, things had thawed slightly. I explained to one of the nosier but friendlier coworkers that my peanut sauce noodles are my weekly staple. The rumor mill had apparently churned out a story where I discovered who the thief was and intentionally poisoned my food to get revenge. Hearing the truth, that it was my regular meal and this was just the first time this specific dish had been stolen, seemed to calm some people down. But the damage was done. The whole ordeal felt so deeply unfair. Even if HR sorted everything out, how could I go back to normal? The trust was broken. I didn't want to work in a place where I could be so easily villainized, where my boss would protect a thief just because she's his daughter. It's not like this job had much room for upward mobility anyway. So, I'm taking Maya's job offer. It might seem like I'm running away, but it feels like I'm running towards something better, a workplace where I'm valued and respected. I don't want to deal with a potentially hostile or reactive environment like this anymore. The situation taught me a critical lesson: you cannot be held responsible for the consequences of another person's reckless and dishonest actions. It's vital to stand up for yourself, document everything, and recognize when a work environment has become irrevocably toxic. So, let me ask you, what would you have done in this situation? Is walking away from a toxic environment the ultimate victory, or would you have stayed and fought?